Hello everyone, I'm just going to whisk through lines 306 to line 336 of the Aeneid in preparation for yesterday and probably next week's lesson. Then, exim, form of exinde. Then, having completed divinis rebus perfectis, again we're going to avoid Madison, we're going to avoid with blah 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 having been blah blah blah. We're trying to make it slightly more fluent. So, having completed the sacred rites. Then, having completed the sacred rites, they bring themselves back to the city. They go back to the city. They return to the city. Do we have Kunkti? Yeah, altogether they return to the city. Rex ibat, the king, obsitus iwo, worn down with age, went back. And he, and ingredients, I'm going right forward to the next line down, 309, and moving forwards and advancing, he took Aeneas along with his own son, Juxta, together with him as a companion. So he took Aeneas as a companion together or along with his natum, with his son, and he lewabat, and he lightened Wiam the way with vario sermone, with various talk, I suppose, with various speech, with diverse speech, just with varied talk. Reminiscent of Dido taking him through the city of Carthage, and it's a nice sort of idea, as the notes and the criticisms say, of Aeneas kind of taking an interest in all that he sees. Mirator, he wonders, here we go with this interest, Mirator, he is amazed, and so Aeneas marvels, Aeneas delayed until the start of 311 in the emphatic first word of the line. So Aeneas is amazed, and he casts his faculis, rather than easy eyes, his eager eyes around everything. He is captured, capitor, by the locis, by the place, and happily, lightus, he exquirit and he audit, and happily he seeks and learns the monumenta, the stories of the men of old, singular, one by one. Then King Evander, founder of the Roman citadel, says, although that's not in it, the native fauns, the fauns, as we said, are the wood nymphs, are the wood divinities, the nymphs are the river divinities. So the native indigenae, the native fauns and the nymphs once held these woods, literally once lived in these woods, and a gens virum, and a race of men born from the tree trunk and from duro robore, from hard oak. Quisque, we then say, who had no, I suppose you could say mos is custom, it's a complicated Roman concept and word, who had no rule, we could say, I've said here, or way, or cultus, or way of life, nec, nor, and this is an interesting idea here of them, both figuratively and metaphorically, understanding these three ideas, nor did they know how to, what did I say here? Nor did they know how to yoke an ox, jungere, nor did they know how to yoke an oxen, or to componere, or to save up their rations, or to componere their opes, to save up their rations, nor did they know how to parcere, or to parcere parto. I've said be prudent with their, literally how to spare their produce. But I've said here how to be prudent with their goods, with their produce. Said the Rami, but the tree branches nurtured them. But the Rami, I love this description of the ancient Italians, but the tree branches, alebat, nurtured them, brought them up, along with the asper, nurtured them, along with asper venatus, with harsh hunting, with its victu, with its way of life. Great line, that. Primus, golden line that we have here. Primus, by that, that's AB, AB, just in case you don't know. Primus, Primus A, Iterio B, Saturnus A, Olympo B. So, first there came from heavenly Olympus. So Primus, first from heavenly Olympus came Saturn, fugiens, fleeing the weapons of Jupiter, and ademptis regnis, and an exile with his regnis ademptis, with his kingdom taken over. He composuit, gathered together the genus, the race. He gathered together the race in docile, uncivilized, I've said, and scattered amongst, and dispersum, scattered amongst the mountains, and he did it, and he gave them laws. He maluit. He chose that it rather be called Latium. Maluit. He chose that it be called Latium, Quoniam, because he had lain hidden, tutus, safe, in his oris, in these lands. The Golden Age, of which people talk, the Golden Ages, plural, the aurea saecula, the Golden Ages, quae perhibent, which people talk, fuere, which people talk about, fuere, were sub illo rege, were under that rule, were under that kingdom, were under maybe that his reign. Thus he governed his people in gentle. Seek, thus he regebat, I said governed rather ruled, he governed his populos, his people, in pace placida, in gentle peace. Donec, until paulatim, gradually deterior, a worse and a decolor, a more discoloured age, successit, crept in, along with rabies, the madness, where we get rabies from, I suppose, and the madness of war, and amor habendi. For that, I said I didn't want to say love for that bit, that I've said hunger of habendi. Literally, I love that phrase though, the hunger of having. Appropriate, some would say, for this day and age, but you can see how the Romans would have loved it in the contrast to Evander's sort of humility, and a hunger of having until this, so the idea of this sort of nostalgia, I guess you could say, and until the gradually, yes, they crept in along with the madness of war and the hunger of having. Tum manus. Then came the Ausonian people. So tum manus, rather than the Ausonian band of people. Then came the Ausonian people, venere, again a historic infinitive, and the Sicanian tribes, and more often did the land of Saturn, posuit, put aside its nomen, its name. Tum, then the kings and the rough, the harsh Tibris, massive in size, imani corpore, from which afterwards we Italians, Itali, Diximus, called our river by the name of Tibris, called our river Tibris by that name, cognomine, amisit verum. Indeed, the ancient river Albula has lost her true name. Verum, indeed, the vetus Albula, indeed, the ancient river Albula has lost her real verum nomen, her real name. Me pulsum patria. I've gone right down to about 2 or 3 lines down to make almighty fortune and unchangeable fate, all the way down to there, fortuna and ineluctabile fatum. So, great fortune, almighty fortune and unchangeable fate, set me down, posuere, set me down in his locis. Look at me waiting all this time before I use the pen bit. Set me down in this place, pulsa, driven away from my patri, from my fatherland, and sequentem, seeking extrema, the furthest reaches of the sea. The egere, the tremenda monita, the dreadful warnings of my mother. So this is Carmen, the mother of Evander, the dreadful warnings of my matris, of my mother Carmen, foreboding sense here, and Apollo, and the divine power Apollo, me Aeneid drove me, or rather just Aeneid drove me here. Well done, everyone. I shall see you all tomorrow.